It's time for change to move into the real work of the universe. And it's time to understand that we use the matter state to reach the level of understanding of the soul of the man. Now you understand maybe why the Creator has sent his messengers in the name of whatever you have had. Is that they bring the ears, that it can be used when the time of the Messiah comes. They can teach the soul and the message, not to oppose. But by them understanding through those who have become Messiahs, to give from their souls to these to elevate, the job is made easy. The school is there and the students are devotedly there. Then there won't be any fight between what they call the Muslims and the Christians. The lamb and the lion will eat and sleep in the same nest. The Christians and the Muslims will sleep and pray in the mosque, and in the same church, in the name of their souls, not in the name of religion that is used to create so much conflict for the benefit of those who were the hyperactive children. The time has come, the time of change is here. And as I said, my wish is my command. If it's your wish to see peace, path of peace is laid very clearly. It's the soul of the collective awareness, by giving, will create that position of change. No other thing. There is no pen in the soul of the man. And I'm sure once you go into the universal community, you will never see anything written but the balance of the fields of the soul of the existence. Try to be humble enough not to become arrogant in the power that you have understood and you possess. Otherwise, you'll fall in the same path of the church and the mosque. This is what we promised, and this is what we have delivered. We have to understand the operation of the soul, and we have to understand the soul of the man is a star in the cosmos of the universe. If we compare the soul of the man and many of us, 7 billion in one collection, Earth is like a galaxy with so many stars. When we look in the depth of the universe, we see galaxies with hundreds of millions of stars in it. So is the planet Earth. It carries 7 billion beautiful stars, which are the soul of the man. Carries with it soul of so many trillions of animals, plants, and everything else. So if you look, when someone who does not see the physicality of the earth and its content, what do they see? They see a galaxy with so many beautiful lights shining, each one according to their strength, each one according to their position. An infant has a beautiful soul, so has the old man. To those who do not see the physical dimension of this planet, but they see the strength of the field, we are clusters of stars. The human race, every single soul, no one from a distance sees that's the soul of a fisherman, that's the soul of the cosmologist, that's the soul of a president. They all shine irrespective of the physicality. This is the magic. This is what the new science has to bring to man. When we look through our soul, we see nothing but we star in the other souls. And this is the break. This is the understanding. This is what all these teachings are about. Coming to mature to the next level, to understand in the deep space, the universe is the oyster for those souls who serve. Then man is ready to go into space. Then man is ready to become part of the universal community which has been promised. I never promised you heaven. I always promised you the elevation of the man to join the family. And now you have the key. It's you who has to open the door to understand, if I can raise the soul of these people or millions of other souls, that the physical life on this planet changes, then I'm worthy to be part of the universal community. To be there to serve, to expand. To be there, to be part, that in the cycle of life of universe, I become, in being part, I become part of the totality. When man reaches that point, a new dimension in the strength of the soul of the man will appear, which is beyond imagination of understanding of the physical life. It's the gate to the opening of the new life, in a new dimension, which is beyond imagination of what you might call a new beginning, a new cycle. Which that cycle carries with itself the origin of the creation of life in the universe. It's the elevation of the soul to serve become the key, not a throne of the physical life. The time is right. The time has come for the man to go through this process.
Welcome everyone to the 257th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, January 3rd, 2019. And thank you everyone for being here today in this new year. And I'm your host, Rick Crammond. And as usual, we are joined with Mr. Mayran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation, who will lay out the plans for the Keshe Foundation and some of the accomplishments and other information and news, as well as plasma teachings. Mr. Keshe, are you ready for today's workshop?
Yes, good morning, good day to you as usual, wherever, whenever you listen to these Knowledge Seekers workshops. It is interesting that after last week's, what we call disclosures, a lot of things has happened, good things, very good things for us as Foundation. And in so many ways, in a way it was expected, but it has moved us to the new dimension and direction. As we said, we have set up the conference for the 6 most powerful nations advanced in space technology. And we have already got confirmation from 3 nations that they will attend. This gives the Keshe Foundation and the work of the space technology international recognition. We will announce, and in due course all will be disclosed, as we always open very publicly. The governments know are the way we work. Um, a letter of invitation has been sent to His Excellency President Trump to um, appoint American scientists to this conference. And at the same time, in next week or so, we will announce the position where it'll be, maybe in 2 weeks, and how it's going to be held, and the way it's going to be held, and how is to the satisfaction of the what we call the host nation. Well, they know we open very, we work very openly, and we open our books to all the nations. In our request to His Eminence Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran, the position of the Iranian scientist has been declared, and at the same time, the position of Americans in respect to the development of to the American administration is clearly laid out. As you know, we have direct access to all these offices through our correct conduct of the past, and one office immediately responds, literally as we spoke on them with them on the phone, that they will attend, and they're waiting for position to be allocated. I thank the Chinese authorities and their endurance of going through every steps of the technology to make sure that we are correct, the technology is correct. As I said, 2019 will be a major breakthrough for us, and it has started. We see in different ways Keshe Foundation being presented in different aspects of it around the world by different organizations. We have received the video from Tehran University presenting the what we call urban aspects of this technology. This in Farsi. It was presented in a conference in Tehran in December last month. And the presenter of the application of this new technology has received the second prize in this Congress International Conference about use of plasma. There are some pictures and videos available which we have received, which I think will be nice to see. It's presented to world scientists by one of our knowledge seekers who has taken it into university level at the highest level in Tehran, and has submitted as a project which has won the prize for its second prize in what they call application of it. Rick, if you have any pictures or videos of it, is some around. This is how the Iranian government is putting forward the name and the Keshe Foundation operation. Around about 3 minutes into the video, if you move on, is uh, what do you call it? They show the pictures of the Keshe Foundation, and the presenter explains that after this discovery, around about 3 minutes into it, you see the pictures in the background. The Iranian government is literally going out of their way to promote the Keshe Foundation and its technologies. If you can play it, you will see this in Farsi.
دانشمندان دیگه‌ای مثل نیکولا تسلا، آدم ترامبلی، جان برکلی، جان هاچیسون و پروفسور سر به این تکنولوژی ها دست پیدا کردن، ولی متاسفانه سرکوب شدن. تکنولوژی که آقای مهران توکلی کشه هم دست پیدا کرد، تکنولوژی هستش از همین دست از فضای ایتر انرژی رو جذب میکنه و میتونه این انرژی رو به انرژی آنتی گراویتی و یا انرژی الکتریسیته تبدیل بکنه. ایشون نزدیک به بیش از 2 دهه فعالیت داشتن در این حوزه. این انرژی به صورت فعل و انفعال و مگنتیک انگراویشن هستش، یعنی به صورت دافع و جاذبه عمل میکنه.
Would you like to stop it? Yeah, thank you very much. As you see, they are not holding back in releasing pictures and names as has been done in the past 2 months, in a specific way to clarify the technology. This is at one of the most prestigious Tehran University, an international conference. We've seen in the past few days publication by another scientist, Dr. Keshe Foundation Technologies, in a public paper, a journal, which has been released again from India. Uh, we see a number of disclosures which are coming open, and the governments are openly opening the doors of the Keshe Foundation for us. We kept our persistence, we put a lot of effort into it, all of us, literally, the Keshe Foundation worldwide. And this has changed, and it changes a lot for us. As you see, the, they use the maghraf technology, they use directly, there's nothing is hidden, and this is the way we are progressing. In the next few weeks, we'll show more papers, more documents from different part of the world, and organizations and universities, which are in a way accepting it as a major breakthrough. Um, in this process, we have to stay correct. In this process, we have to understand is the work of all of us that has brought the changes. We need to understand we are not alone. Keshe Foundation is not a single organization, and we have to understand that the Keshe Foundation needs to stay correct in all its conducts. Doesn't matter as individual or as groups. There are some problems in the background with the foundation which we are sorting it out, but it has to be understood we are in the hand of many, many governments. We are not played by a small scale, what we call game players. We are in the hand of national securities, military, governments with the power, which can do a lot of things. But as we all have seen, and the course of the teaching has shown its own power. We do not need to um, worry about how we present it. Our worries nowadays is how much of it we can present that is acceptable and digestible by most of the world scientists. It has created a lot of problem. In talking to man of power and scientific organizations, they have a big problem with us. They tell you directly. And the problem is, what are we going to do with all the works we've done? What's the position with all the research we have done and we accepted, and now we have to redo? The biggest problem for these people is to redo, and how much of it can we redo? Um, the, 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 the extent of change is so huge that somewhere down the line, as one of the scientists says, are we going to accept that we lived in a false world of science and we got everybody to accept it? Would they ever accept us as scientists to be credible? And as the scientist said, I wish I was doing something else. This is the problem we have. The, the, we, with this technology, we literally shake the roots and we rock the whole structure of the many, many aspects of the physics, chemistry, biology. In a way, it's not to destroy, we built on it, and this is what we have to emphasize on the scientists. We did what we have, what we had, and now maybe we have to look at the same papers and um, translate them. Maybe it can be applicable in the plasma technology level. We can lose our scientists just because we brought another technology. We have to see how they can adopt their technology to be added. Doesn't mean their technology is obsolete or it's wrong. If it's wrong, it has to be corrected, and if it is need to be corrected, how much more investment is going through these things to be done and already obsolete condition. Um, we see this in many, many of the works, especially now which we have set up a structure in China with agriculture, and we get data specifically from independent research centers. When they do evaluate our findings, that we do actually don't create any genetic change. But those which is genetically changed going back to their normality is causing problem for people, for the scientists. And this is not what they wanted. No, this is not what they were expecting. They were sending genetically modified seed as a natural because it's accepted and it's going. And now that we take the genetic modification out of it, it goes back to its original. There is something wrong with our process because they can't cheat their people anymore, or they want to cover it. We'll come across a lot of these in the coming time. One of the best way to do it is not to blame, but to consolidate, to show a new way, to work together. We're not here to say it's all us. We say this is what the new technology brings. Be it increase in harvest, being change in animals, being change in behavior, being in anything which we do now, because this technology is touching everything. And what I see in the position I am, and all the information which come to us, there is such a huge change on the way that sometimes it scares me. Why did I ever release this technology this way? Wouldn't it be better put it in books and in papers and make a group that they release it every few years, a paper, two papers, little by little? This shock is huge. When you sit, as I said, I've been too busy past few years, and in past few days I had time to sit back and look at the whole progress of the Keshe Foundation and the work of us as a whole, and it's frightening what I see. If I was sitting in the seat of President Trump, I will shake reading what is sitting to him. If I was sitting in the place of His Excellency and Eminence Ayatollah Khamenei, President of Iran and Rouhani, I will shake what this is going to bring to us. How much our nations, our people are ready to go, and what can we do? In the letter to His Excellency President Trump, it's very simply what is on the table has been explained. Is there a need for a wall in Mexico? Because we can cross anything now. Are we going to use that 5 billion to change the life of those people, not to cross, to give them better life, which we took from them, by depleting the gold reserves over centuries into the boats on the bottom of the oceans or in the banks, seals of the nations in Europe? It brings a lot of headache of world leaders, but it brings a lot of joy to them as well, because at least they have found a solution. There could be another way to do it. And we should not become arrogant in the time of what is in our hand. We become more certitude, more what we call sophisticated in trying to organize a lot of things. The test results which is done for Chinese military coming out this morning is absolutely shocking. I received a copy of it. We work closely. We are committed to the Chinese government for peace and bringing agriculture into power, into what we call parity, which means national food security. There's been a lot of rough time, but we've gone through it. We're at the last legs of seeing everything through. But without it being confirmed in different ways, it would have been impossible to achieve such a thing. We will see changes in a way that how much we're going to touch everything which is across this planet. It's not going to happen overnight. To see a change in a wheat, we need 1 year. We see the change of the harvest in thousands and hundreds of thousands of square meters of land in China by September of this year. Then we see, yes, we put, let's say, 100 kilos of rice down, and we were expecting from it, now we're getting 250 kilo, 300 kilo, and even more. We were expecting, as we know from the test, let's say, around about 59 kilo of wheat from one given land, and another one with the GANs and the wheat is being processed, we are receiving 132 kilos. Figures are not in grams, not in few kilos, is in hundreds of percentage increase. There is a big difference. There is a big difference what we make. The changes are huge if you understand what it means. If China goes ahead the way we now start running hundreds of thousands of square meters of land under new agriculture for this coming up season, and we can show we can increase the harvest the way we done last year in the region of even 50% increase, China becomes self-sufficient in 2 years time, because now we have to do a bigger land. You're talking about millions of square meters going on the farming this year under the Keshe Foundation. We're negotiating in every aspect. And then next year it becomes millions and millions. We're still setting up the factories coming up. We're still setting up the research groups coming up. And it hasn't been easy. It's us as one, not me. The supporters of Keshe Foundation in China, the supporters of Keshe Foundation worldwide, and now with the new conference coming up, we are representing all our scientists as one team, one nation, humanity. Chinese are coming with the Chinese scientists, Americans are coming with the American scientists, Iranians are proud to bring their scientists, Brazilians are coming with the Brazilian scientists, Keshe Foundation is coming with humanity scientists. It's a big difference. People from America, from Australia, from Chinese as part of the Keshe Foundation China, Americans as part of the Keshe Foundation representative, not the American government. We'll see people from India who will represent China, what we call the Indian Keshe Foundation presentation of the same technology. We become a force to be reckoned with, and we're becoming more and more powerful. Would you like to show a video of this, what I call agriculture? If Ella would like to come and present this month's magazine, please. Then we carry on with the teaching. Ella, are you in the background?
Yes, she is. Just a minute that she gets ready.
Okay.
And okay.
If you go ahead with the presentation, please.
Yep.
Do you need another couple of minutes there, Stanley or Ella?
Just the minute that we can connect her and she will start. Okay.
Okay. Perhaps I'll just read a comment from the live stream from Wolfgang. He says, welcome to a very good new year to all, and thanks for the sharing of the new knowledge also in 2019. The very best and success to Mr. Keshe, Caroline, Rick, and the whole team and foundation and mankind. Bear with us another minute or so while we get connected here.
What's the problem?
I think we're just waiting on Ella connecting there, so just be another minute. can also mention that that last paper we were looking at is from what's called IGERA, which is the just a second here, there it is, the Journal of Engineering Research and Application. Sorry, the International Journal of Engineering Research and Application. And it's an accredited journal that's published in various places, along with other science journals. It's interesting that it's a kind of an open source type journal, although it is reviewed by the scientists who run the organization, and they select and reject the papers that did not get accepted, which is they have quite a high rejection rate actually. So they only accept what they consider to be the quality papers. And so we can post the link for that so that people can check it out personally.
I think the way we're publishing papers, a lot of people will come in and want to publish everything they like. But we cannot be selective in a way if it's to do with the plasma technology, and if it doesn't make sense to us. Just to show we are very good and we can show what we like, to choose what we like, to show the benefit of it. I think when it comes to, it should be in the hand of our people in the journal, papers who show different things, different aspects of the technology, and the space and plasma has to be accepted too. Then we are correct. Are you ready, Ella? Or do you still need time?
Yes, I'm here.
I like your animal. He's got very sharp teeth.
Actually, I was thinking how different the beings are looking when we look close, the insects, the animals, and how will we be surprised if the universal community decides to manifest itself in physicality towards us? What will be our reaction? So the picture was chosen exactly because of that reason.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. The 7th edition of KF Plasma Times, January 2019, is finding us with a recap from the last workshop, in which Mr. Keshe has actually touched a few subjects. One of those subjects is the fact that the human body is in the micro level the same as in the macro level. Therefore, we are a galaxy, and our structure is similar with the galaxy structure as well. We had a reminder, or let's say encouragement, to listen once again and to read and to see the meanings of the words in the intro for the Universal Council. And the text is now also in the Plasma Times for those who would like to read and to focus on Mr. Keshe's words. As well, the article for the announcement of the 6 portals, the gateway to the universal community, which you can read as well. The next article is regarding the spaceship program teaching, which will be delivered to the 6 nations that will have the portal. Each nation will have a portal. Another announcement was made regarding the headquarters of the Keshe Foundation that will be hosted in Malta, and about the first international conference of the Spaceship Nations, which will be held in China with the support of the Chinese government. In media coverage section, we have the mention of an interview which was done by the KBC channel in Kenya regarding the teachings that Dr. Gatwa is delivering freely to the Kenyan community. From the education side, we have a new teaching format which is prepared for the private teachings in English for 2019. For those interested to learn about the new structure, we invite you to read the article for the new structure. And as a surprise, we are launching the new cosmetic line, which is called K Plasma Care. And in the first launch, we are offering shower gel, shampoo, liquid hand soap, and argan shampoo shower gel 2-in-1. And they are all plasma products. And they will be available on the web store starting with this week. So we invite you all to try. In the language community, we had our Portuguese knowledge seekers who have delivered the plasma teachings in a Brazil Health Conference, which was very successful. And following the Plasma Scientific Journal, we have the paper Oil, Gas, Protein, and the Earth, which was published by Mr. Keshe in 2014 initially. So we are now republishing in the KF Plasma Times. Please read it because it's one of the very important papers published by Mr. Keshe. From our education team, we also have an article regarding the production of the 4 basic gases. Just a reminder about how to produce zinc oxide, carbon dioxide, copper oxide, and CH3. And coming from our research center in Arizona, we also have the scientific journal entry regarding the magnesium gas, how it is produced, and what are its uses. And a very long weight paper will be released in this edition, and it is the viruses, the energy packages of the universe, the paper regarding the herpes simplex virus, with which we got enlightened by Mr. Keshe. In the testimonial section, we have 2 testimonials which are talking about the effects of CO2 gas water and a mix of gas water for various situations. And of course, a reminder on how, or a short guide on how to submit your Plasma Scientific Journal paper. Be it if you have a testimonial or if you have an experiment you have been doing in the plasma technology. Here we provide you all the instructions on how you can structure your paper that we get it published in the Plasma Time edition. And last but not least, we have prepared a special promotion for Valentine's. It's called Plasma Valentine, in which we offer a new product called My Plasma Pouch. This product contains a collection of our plasma products, such as the pain relief band, the plasma neck pad, the plasma relaxation mask, and the plasma magnetic insoles, all put in a carry-on pouch so that you can have your favorite products with you all the time. And the second package is the newly released cosmetic line with the shampoo, shower gel, and liquid hand soap, a pack of 3 that you can use as a gift for your favorite Valentine. And that is it for this edition.
Thank you very much, Ella. Do we have anything from any of the Austria or Italy or Arizona as a new product you want to show? Or is gone on the magazine? They're not ready for it. Okay, thank you very much, Ella. This is a very nice presentation. We tried to still to get you the agriculture papers from China. It needs to be completed translation and be sent to you for next month or so. There are a couple of things for those of you who are still around the foundation and teaching. The new semester or the new year starts January the 14th, a week on Monday. If you want to be a student or be there to go and learn as it comes up, if you are not financially capable to pay, you can register free. We leave it on your integrity and honesty. And if you want to be a student, the minimum is 100 and you can donate anything above that. Number of people have done this year. They just paid that donation part as part of their registration fee. Thank you very much for your donations. There is a very important message in all the teachings, is that we need to support the teaching side heavily, especially now that we expand into different languages. This is going to create a lot of problems for a lot of people, that they cannot read publications in their own language, and they have to rely on the transcriptions, or they will go through Google transcribing, and this can cause some problems for them, but try to get it sorted out if it can be translated. In the part of the teaching and what we saw in the magazine today, it brings us to a very important part of our teaching structure. We just saw from Arizona a paper on creating magnesium GANs. Why do we need the magnesium? We touched this before, but now that we understand the creation of the soul and the soul of the man, it brings a new dimension in understanding of magnesium in the structure of the body of the man. When we look at the structure of the brain of the man, and we look at the structure of the physicality of the man, we see a vast different ratio, but existence of some materials totally on the physical part, but not on the emotional and the soul part. What this means, we see a massive ratio of certain elements in the physical part, like in the blood, the iron, the copper in the tissue muscles, and zinc, which is the white nerve system. But we don't see iron in the brain structure as such. We don't see other elements as such, but we see magnesium predominantly with zinc and calcium, and with a huge amount of CO2. Why? Why do we have these? Why do we have a magnesium in the brain structure of the man? What does it do? What is its job? In looking at the Raman spectroscopy, infrared spectroscopy, which we have seen in the past few hours again, something stands very clear. In the world of the science, we take a material, we analyze the material, and through its whatever characteristics we decided to call it, we say if it's a zinc, it's copper, or whatever, we hold it in our hand. But with a new work which has come up, and analysis of data in a different way, they see a spectrum of materials from the same material. When you look at the full spectrum of a GANs on the infrared spectroscopy, on Raman spectroscopy, you see the properties of many, many elements. CO2, for example, when we test, we see isotopes of CO2 manifesting themselves on the graph. We see isotopes and behavior of many other elements in the peaks which appear. Which means this brings a huge confusion to all of us. Which means, what are we going to do with this? Up to now, we hold A piece of metal, we say it's alloy. We can explain what this alloy is. So many percentage by weight of nickel, zinc, or copper in it, or it has so much percentage of the carbonate in the steel to give it toughness and softness. But how do we explain these GANs? It's all green, it's all white. And how come when I put it to test, I see the property of the protein, I see the property of the zinc, I see the property of the copper, I see the property of the iron, I see the property of CO2 isotopes, and I see the property of many other things. But I gave one element. I gave one GANs of white stuff I call CO2. But why do I see such a spectrum? Why do I see so many peaks? Where has the science gone wrong? This is the problem, that it is created and we have to have an answer for it. We have created this problem, nobody else has. We have created this problem for ourselves by introducing a new matter which shows behavior of many other matters. Or is by looking at this graph of what you call one element. Just 1 second, please. Just trying to get a grasp for you. Why do we see different elements? Have we come to understand the true essence of the creation that we have achieved, or we are at a point of transmutation of elements? Does, when we look at these graphs, does it show us that such a strength will give us such a material? Now we can pinpoint the strength of the fields we need to produce that material. I've never discussed this in all the teachings because it wasn't time for it. Now there is a time for it. Now we need to understand it. Now we have educated enough to understand copper is not copper anymore. If I understand the composite of the energies within it, and I can replicate those, I can have oxygen. So in a space, I look for those fields which are oxygen. Now, if we look at these graphs in different spectroscopies we get, it gives us a very in-depth knowledge. It's all there. We don't need to define anymore. We don't need to search for. We can now build systems which is specific. One of the jobs of you as knowledge seekers and research centers has to be, for the first time, to start creating magnetic poles of ganses. What does this mean? It's very simple, because I used to do things with the research centers. They all go all over the place now. We teach it in a different way that you all can understand, and maybe some of you sooner or later come up with it. Our research centers are too busy trying to survive for their way. What it means you make, oh, I hate this one. What it means, you make a ball. And as we've seen, you can create motion in this gas, being liquid or gas. You create fields of rotation inside it. Either way it could be. But you don't know how it affects, how it interacts. What we are looking for is a new explanation, a new way. This becomes very handy. If you listen to my teachings before, and when I explained with a lot of enthusiasm with my research in Tehran, Sharif Tehran University some 10, 11 years ago now, I refer to, I could set the big reactors which you're seeing and put the other small one and get it to fly. What does it mean? What is the coursework, as I call it, for you to be? Can you produce another ball with the same kind of field operation that by changing small parameters in this one, you can attract or repel the other one to it? Or if you can add to or reduce direction of rotation and strength in this one, that can affect another system rotation of fluid in the sun, the earth, and the moon. I think one of the next step jobs we need to do is to be able to make dynamic system with what we call fields or Ganser fields that can affect the speed of rotation, the strength of the fields, or its positioning in respect to the system we have. Why? Why do we need to do this? There are many applications in space technology which we are moving into. I need a specific strength field that I can produce. I'll be seeing oxygen. We're running off the fields of strength we need. You have 10,000 passengers breathing 15 times a minute. How much material do you need? Or you give them to breathe, or you transfer the energy to the lungs that they don't need to breathe. Then you control everything. You control the happiness, you control everything that your passengers, through the energy you absorb, can dictate what you absorb and what is the use of it. We pass in certain positions in the universe that the energies which we need but not time, we can tank them. We haven't touched tanking and storage of fields yet. What does that do in respect to the fields within the spacecraft? Do we carry one spacecraft and trailers that the elements, what they need is behind, carried with you? Because we decide a position, how we receive fields. These are what is practically done already, and it's very frequent thing in the universal community. Very much what you do, you have a aircraft carrier, you have a fuel tanker which comes and fuels it, or you have a ship which is just for food, carrying all the goodies for the soldiers. Now we move to the what we call space level of it. The time when there was a capsule, they had one capsule and a preheated bag, as we see with the astronauts in the space, is long over. When we introduce a new technology like this into the space program, we have to have all dimensions of it. To be able to feed, to be able to see, to be able to replicate, to be able to control. So what goes back to is our original teachings. Go back to some years ago. In the original teachings, always said, our knowledge has come to the point, has reached the maturity that we can make a magnet of anything. What does this mean? What we said, you can attract with a change in the parameters this ball which has got the CO2 in it only. Then you create a condition, then you find this is the strength of CO2 because you can attract it to it. The gravitational field of the CO2 you can register. You change the parameters that you repel the ball. You find the what we call gravitational on one side, now the magnetic. So setting up these new systems starts teaching us the field strength we are needing. In that system, by creating magnetic field in one, we can use the what we call, for example, a moving belt that only attracts metal, zinc, and then we change the field strength. We attract anything with amino acid in. So the new cleaning up systems for industrial cleaning can be matched very easily because now we understand this. We have got the capability to produce the magnetic field of any elements. What I said, now you understand. I can create the magnetic field of wood. I attract what I will need and I can produce and replicate the wood. I can attract, create the condition and the fields of any protein which I need. Do I need to produce, or do I need to be able to change conditions to reach? What is important to us is to be able to understand from now on everything which we have talked to and talked about and we developed, because now the problem sits very deep, and that is, do we understand and how much we understand about our technology, and do we have the capability to interpret what this means? How far can we go? To what extent we can do? Can we change a material on the belt? I don't want all that copper coming in. I want some zinc. I want some aluminium. Have we progressed to go to that level? Now that we understand the transmutation of elements. This is what your body does in your thalamus. It receives copper all the time, but it's got a source which matches the strength of zinc for nerve system. So it changes the GANs of the copper which is in storage into the GANs of zinc for the nervous system. It's nothing new. Now we understand the process. This is where the next step space technology is moving to. This is where we have to be very practical with what we do. This is where the space knowledge, transmutation of the elements, becomes field dependent and not matter dependent. And with the new tools we have, we can go in the depth of the knowledge and understand how much we need to change, and what does it mean? How can we explain materials? How can we confine the science and the knowledge we have to the understanding of the work of the universe? Now you understand why I said last week that we finish with the matter state and the game starts in the universal level. But the good thing is we've done enough on the material against that automatically we can understand. Can we create a thalamus for the whole spaceship using the fields of the universe? That we can convert any field to what the body of the man needs. Or do we store one monoenergetic magnetic field, monoenergetic gravitational field, and we cut everything to what we need? The way energies come from the limb to the state of body of the matter of the man. Rick, I've sent you a graph, if you can put it up, please. Now you understand how the new science brings new dimensions. The information carried is so important that now we start doing everything according to our understanding, to what suits us as space dwellers, but with the advantage of being able to have the reference from the Earth planet, that we can say, we've seen this on Earth, we can do this with it. But how are we going to replicate the materials which we don't have on Earth? The materials which to us are impossible to exist. Would you like to take the screen share, Rick?
I'm just having a little trouble opening that with my mouse here for some reason. Just bear with me a minute.
Okay. So what this means, now we have moved away from gases and everything else which we done, and now we're working with a field, plasma field only. Now we have entered the universal understanding of the creation. And this is, as I said, 2019 is the beginning, and we say in Farsi, it means if you don't want to get embarrassed, become like the rest of the people in the party. If you don't want to stand out as the ignorance of the knowledge of the universe, we have to learn the knowledge of the universe. And now we see how the structure is coming in. Most of our teachings from now on will go in that direction. And because you've been around and you understand it, many of you can translate it very rapidly. So in the process, in the dimensions of the work, in the understanding of the whole totality of the structure of the creation in the universe, we're just getting to understand the real work in the real condition of the plasma of the universe. What does this bring us? What does this allow us to understand more about our own creation? What happens when you go to a doctor and they say you suffer from iron deficiency? Oh, I have a system. I can produce gans of iron in my blood with a small system on my arm, and it's done. Or you have too much cholesterol. Or
Mr. Keshe, sorry, I have that drawing ready now if you like.
okay, put it up, please. You can. If you want me to step down.
I should be able to share here.
Okay. So, um, you see, this is what I explained to you. This is a spectroscopy from one bottle. If you understand reading the spectroscopies, you see many elements. Reconfirmation of the elements in different strength. When you look at this, majority 90% of this I can tell you what was in the container. It's a CO2 based with different strength, but appearance of many other elements. But we gave these guys a bottle of gas. There was no metal in it. Fully washed. But when you look in the world of science, we look for the peaks. When you look at the spectroscopies, we are looking for a peak and troughs, and how they appear. We are looking in so many ways, what are the indications? What each peak, because if you look as part of your education, at the bottom there's a scale, and they put the numbers in front of it. On the horizontal and vertical, there are two different lines, which explains what that element at that point is. So if you convert this into plasmatic magnetic fields, then if you understand, maybe in the future you will understand, is very simple. What would this give me? If I can replicate this peak. So if I know this, and I know this, and sorry, I know the spectroscopy and magnetic fields, and by other spectroscopies of magnetic field strength, I can replicate a lot of things. I can set systems which matches this and absorb from the universe. Now, has the creation gone crazy, or have we become educated? Can we replicate this and use it in the universal organizations of communities we meet to help them, or to help ourselves, or in so many ways to make the difference for us in space? This is where the history of a man and space technology meets. This is where we have to decide. I just gave a CO2, but see how many more materials I received. If you understand and in the future can interpret it. What would the future hold for us in this respect? What have we done? And what have we achieved in the totality of the knowledge of the universe? Don't forget, this knowledge has always been there. It's us who become the recent understanders of the knowledge. Nothing has changed in the work of the universe. is us who are now just getting educated. It's always been there and always have helped, support, and taught the man of space the true ways of living without killing. The true ways that one of these and a combination of these, it means protein of what my lung needs, protein of what my body needs, and protein of what will be in my life part of my work. So, in so many ways, we come to work in different ways and understand the operation of our work. And so, in so many simple ways, do we need to change? Do we need to understand more about the work of our universe, or what we call our own galaxy of our own body? Have we matured to be able to understand the work of our system, be it our own body, or be it space and the universe? To what extent we can go and understand our work? To what extent we can translate the data, that it gives us that edge, that sharpness, that understanding of the work of the universe? And how far can we push this knowledge? To what extent? Are we maturing to understand how everything in the universe is created? If you go back in the roots of the operation of the whole system, it boils down to one thing, and that is very simply, if I understand this graph, understand the implication of the use of this graph, can I create a condition that, as in my body, conversion of the fields led to creation of the same field to become muscle tissue, heart tissue? Or have I matured to understand, if I change and use the same parameters in the dimension of the understanding of the life in the universe, I can create condition that in my portal hole I'll see another creature. I can invite, because now I can make the condition and I can meet its demands, because I know I can. I can create fields to the strength of a Martian and have a Martian as guest. But in understanding this, and I'm changing the diameters and parameters, can I create a condition where at the same time, the way you have a muscle tissue from the same energy of the heart, I can have the muscle tissue of the liver coexisting in the same strength. Then it comes to another point for all of us. Can we become the changer of the game of our own body? At the same time, we choose which guest we want to invite from which planet in these meetings and in these conditions. And then it comes to another point. Are we ready to accept the inevitability that we are not alone? And at the beginning, we will not know which guest we have invited. We invite the man from the Mars, but we haven't got the field right. We bring the friend from Jupiter. These are the consequences of the new technology. These are what we have to face in the new dimension of understanding of the new technology. When we had our Indian friends, we cooked for them Indian food. And when we had our Chinese friends, we cooked Chinese for them. What are we going to cook? And what are we going to prepare for those who we bring through this system through? The life joining universal community is very, very different than what we thought. It's not just taking the spacecraft and traveling, just taking off and landing. It's not, and we cannot become the joyrides of the space. And to what extent we want to joyride. What are we prepared to create? And how prepared are we to accepting what we prepare and what we create? These are what comes to us in 2019 with opening the space. The space frontiers are not easy places to be in if you are not educated. Now, everything, as I said, comes together for all of us to understand what it means to be part of this operation. What it means to be able to operate within the structure of this system. Is this what we call portal we create, the demise of the man? Or will it create and bring viruses by mistake? Which we were not expecting. We were not educated for. And to what extent are we ready to accept such a new change? Is this too fast for human race? Or shall we go through a crash course and do it anyway? Because we come too far to go back. There is no way back. No way back for any of us now that we open this Pandora box. Or has the limitation of space has become a doomsday philosophy? Have we gone so far back or so far forward without being fully educated? Or we go through it anyway and we see what education we gather. A simple spectroscopy explanation and understanding gives you most of the materials which you need in the universe on one graph for man to exist. When you put this on the infrared spectroscopy or another spectroscopies, the picture and the writing on the reports coming out is absolutely horrendous. We never knew we are possessor of such a knowledge and so much of it. We call it the body of the man. What have we done with this body? And how much can we literally push this body to its limit? The game of space technology in the advanced levels that we are catching up with is not just a dilemma for us, it's a dilemma for the scientists who are going to interpret all this knowledge, all these figures, and come back to us and tell us what they understand, and we have to trust them. Or we decide as a whole We don't understand it, we shut the doors till we educate ourselves. We become fearful of space. Or is our space endeavors are over? And we leave it again, shut the doors the way they did centuries ago. All the doors to mankind. Because the mankind is not ready. Or very few people who understand and get ready will become the passengers of the universe. Now we can see the dilemma. And we can see the extent of the dilemma. And now you understand why we have delayed so much everything. Both in teaching and understanding. The game of the space technology is not what it was 2 weeks ago. This changes a lot of things on understanding the process of creation. As I said before, we had copper, and that was it. We knew what we have in our hand. Now, if you look at all these peaks, what have we created? To what extent do we understand it? How many materials are sitting here? All these numbers and digits has a value, mean something. Where do we go from here on? And how much do we trust our own present knowledge? To what extent can we change? These are huge questions for us. These are what we have to answer to ourselves. That we can understand the totality of the knowledge. The game of universal space has changed for all of us. Up to now we were ignorant to it. Now we are knowledgeable and we understand it. How much of it do we want to ignore? And how much of it do we want to take with us? And are we willing to change? Are we willing to accept the new? Are we willing to be part of the new? Or do we become what we've been, prejudiced and racist to one type of people from different part of the world, and one part of being from different part of the universe? I don't like the black color, but I like the pink color and the white color. I don't like to be with the ones which is from Martians. The colors and the number of colors and the shapes changes now that our knowledge of universe has increased. Are we still color prejudiced, height prejudiced, language prejudiced? Because when you look at this spectrum, something really scary comes out. And that is, every days up to now, they were just peaks. Just peaks, random peaks. But now we have understood something new. Creating any of these peaks in the right direction and the right strength in a new porthole will means a new life. Not necessarily the man-shaped life. Are our leaders ready to accept such a diversity because this guy is more intelligent than our kings and presidents. And through his dynamic plasma, can control the brain of the president. And coincidentally and accidentally, the strength of the field of his emotion sits with laughter. We have a happy president. These portal holes are not going to be easy to understand now that we look at this graph. The story has changed. We always looked at this or this. Now we have a knowledge of totality in a plasmatic form, which we can replicate and make a condition in this cylinder. What fishes should be and what we create. If you look at the very recent past 3 to 6 months, maybe closer, and look at what has been brought in since Fukushima, from the depth of the oceans or from the seas, is frightening. Because these animals, did they ever exist, or by the creation of the new fields in the environment, they have evolved so fast? If these animals in less than 5 years can evolve so fast, what would be the evolution for man in the depth of space for centuries? By coming in touch with new field strength, or by opening these portal holes that we can bring to life, not to life, but for us to be able to see it for the first time, will bring to us. As I said to somebody very recently, these portal holes we bring to China, Iran, United States, Brazil, India, and Russia, will bring with it a new night vision glasses. But these are the universal vision glasses. Our governments, our leaders, ourselves can be open-minded to accept, to understand, and even if we don't understand, don't become prejudiced towards it. We have become prejudiced with 5 colors on this planet. How can we become non-prejudiced with millions of colors in the universe? Or do we mature to the point of maturity that life is respected, doesn't matter what shape and color comes into, I don't pick it up and put it in my mouth? Or would we not touch anything in the space out of the fear of it? Would it be the poison ivy? Hope we don't do it by habit. We don't become prejudiced to the one which is a slightly pinkish yellow green, because it's got a lot of power, it can just wipe me out. But where the one is a bit reddish pink green, I eat, I touch, I try, because I don't see it to be harmful. But when I digest it, the energy released in me destroys everything inside like a virus. Now you understand why, going back to the original teaching, we try to explain things to you in this manner. These gates, these conditions, which we open very soon, will bring new dimensions. We need to do. Fear of not doing it will not stop it happening. The same as what we did. We created two circles, and with it, we attracted or repelled, or we found a magnet positioning. Now, with these systems which you create through plasma, what do we extract? We came to extract CO2, we ended up with amino acid. We come to extract a combination of CO2 or something, we extract a full living amino acid. Now you understand how much more we have to understand the full science from now on. And before we start this, that's why we put the six portholes across this planet, is to end up with what I call the WCs. What I call the toilet of the brain of the man in the dimension of his emotion. White color only. This is what we are facing, and this is what's going to be across our table, not in years, in months. And the way we have set it up is going to create a lot of problem for a lot of nations. Unless we all become one nation and we look at the totality of the existence. This is, if you thought, oh, a maggraph system was a problem, the mayhem this will create for you lot is 1,000,000 maggraph systems. If more than any maggraph system you could ever imagine you've been sitting with. I'm not worried about a factory or a research center anymore. Very good be with what we set up. My worries is how human race will interact with what we set up. For the first time, militaries have become aware of this technology by testing it themselves, even though they don't understand the full potential of it. Do we talk peace and end off considering the others stupid? Or do we go full back and cut ourselves into pieces as a race? The option is ours from now on, nobody else's. Now, the ignorance of the knowledge is over. We cannot say we didn't know. We cannot say we don't understand. We cannot say we never been told, because everything is on the table. In the next few weeks, when the world leaders and nations get together and start understanding the capability of this technology, something will strike very heavily on all of us. In the next few months, something will shock the humanity beyond its imagination. And that is, if I can make a porthole and create it at the strength of the soul of the man, and I manage to come to an agreement or build it myself, another porthole in another position in the universe. do I transfer the soul of the man through these portals? Milliseconds. But I was expecting, as we saw, as is in the news, Chinese launched a rocket carrying landing system for the dark side of the moon on the 8th of December and landed yesterday on the moon. First time after some decades we managed to land another craft on the moon. Nearly 5 weeks. I think if, sorry, 3 weeks. If they give me 3 weeks and I understand this technology, I don't talk about here to the back of the moon. I speak about which universe you would like to land in and how far closer you want to be to the soul of the Creator. And then you understand how simple has changed everything. The way we go to rent a car and we rent a car to go from one place to another and we hand it over, or we use these new systems of calling a car, you're going that way, I'm coming with you, I pay half of the fares, or you're working, I say I want to go somewhere, you give me a lift, I use your system to get there. You think these don't exist in the universe at this moment? If you get the right chap in your portal or in that thing, and he's on his way to planet Zeus, he'll give you a lift. Because he's one of you, he's from the same universe. Do you need to build the spaceships? The others have already made and they understand it. So this is what I say, our governments have to be ready for a lot of new things. And we need wise leaders, open-minded leaders, and the leaders who make a decision for the whole of humanity, not a few meager nation states out there going to be the president that roll us off and they can empty their bank accounts from meager nothings. The change is not for the man on the street, the change is for every man on this planet. Do we understand the change? Or are we still around making spaceships to fly?
Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Just an idea. If we create these portals, do we need to build spaceships or can we travel through the portals?
This is what I just said. That's exactly what was just said. Do we need, or do we have to? Do we exist to build these spaceships? Or we join those who build the ships? And not only ships, but understood the totality of the space. Now, are we going to invest on so many ships, or are we going to invest on portholes that these portholes allows us to reach more? What are we
Because
going to
my
do?
understanding
And
was,
do we need to do? Is the next step for our governments and our nationals as one nation is what I call universal airports than present airports. Many of you will be waiting to create and build these spaceships. Many of these systems are already operational in the universe. Are we ready to battle with the space reactors and go through the understanding of it? Or are we ready to join a universal community which has already built the systems? Most probably, the first spaceships man will make will be very much like White Brothers' first plane, or the jumping wings of the castles we see in some of the presentations. When you compare to the knowledge of the traveling systems in the hand of the universal community. When they laugh, says, "Oh, they're the Urshins, they just come out of understanding. Look at them." Was it a mistake not to take man through the process of building spaceships? Or was it the correct decision? You still can build it. Any of you can still build and enjoy air balloon, as many people do. But how many of us goes on an air balloon from New York to Beijing? How many of us still would like to go from Paris to Frankfurt on a bicycle? Because we don't want to be, or we don't have the knowledge of cars and fast trains and the rest of it. The creation of the new Six Nation is mainly to bring the humanity together. That they make a decision collectively, consciously, on what is good for the mankind and what we as one lot can accept. We have a problem with what we created as wars, and through it we created the refugees, and how to accommodate the refugees in the countries which we created the war in it. Now, how are we going to accept visitors from other planets and other dimensions in the universe in our homes? Or we become their guests. You thought you're the only one who liked to see what's in that tank. The others there like to see how man looks. And you don't commit your physicality, you committed your soul. They decide to see you in what dimension of physicality in their fish tank. Because they cannot see amino acid. It's too low. It's somewhere here, doesn't exist. They work on this end. So for you to be there, you're part of the same spectrum. You should appear with 14 legs and maybe very little brain. I think when we look at it, it was a right decision to not let man to make the spaceships. Because now, with these portholes, does man need to travel with the spaceships? Or do we, or can we bring to the position that the man respect his soul first, and in respecting his soul will not make systems that use the spaceships as another battleship. Just as I said, I cannot commit a crime. As we said, we take a man to space to be equal. Isn't it correct that we show you the top of the range travel facilities, and then you decide if you want the donkey of a spaceship? Would we reach the position that we walk through the consciousness of our soul and motion of our physicality? Your soul decides, I want to go and see my girlfriend in New York, but I'm sitting in Frankfurt. I have to buy a ticket, get on the plane, make a decision, make sure she's home. I get there, she's there. Now that I control the emotion of wanting to be with my girlfriend, I create the emotion, position, and I'm there. 1 second trip to 12 hours flight. This is what the teaching of the space technology comes to. I always say, it's always open. You can walk, you can get on the donkey, or you can go on the jumbo jet or Rolls Royce or fast train. Now, we show you the Concorde, the most beautiful jumbo jets. But you know, you have option to the donkey and walking in the spaceship. But then needs a commitment of the soul of humanity to peace. Then in next few weeks, when we put the world scientists together to build up the new space travel, if they're happy to go with the donkey, we show them the spaceship. Now that you understand the work of the soul, we take you with the soul. Or I have, you know, these very rich people that have their own private jacuzzi in the house and they can go in it. I have my own steam room and I go in it wherever I like, and I've made it portable. I take it wherever I go. I can sit in there, jump in it. Would we make our own transportation for our own soul? Welcome to the knowledge of the universe. It's much better, it's cleaner, and thanks to the Chinese military, is in front of you. You choose when you understand you are the man from planet Zeus, or you are the man from another universe. Now you know this will give you that, but at the time, to you it was just fields. Now you have the knowledge to make the plasma of it, that it can exist and confirm its existence in it. And Mr. Topoli agrees. It's strange how he knows what to agree with. Now you understand, as I said, 2019 is going to be a different ball game. This is why we have started the teaching this way. The knowledge is there, we have shown it can be done, what can do, and then we can show how governments can become touched by it, nations can become touched by it, and how the changes it brings, it forces mankind to one conclusion. My work doesn't finish with one thing or the other. What I would like to do, I'll read you something very interesting. And this puts it everything in one nutshell. And what is on the knowledge. If you understood my teachings up to now, any of you should be able to make a portal hole. These portal holes are there. It changes a lot of things if we understand it. And it makes it very, very complicated for a lot of our world leaders. And this will change so much for all of us. This is part of the work that we have to make sure as a Keshe Foundation we achieve. This is part of the message of the American President Donald Trump. We as a space group are not concerned with financial boycotts and political colors and embargoes on other nations and individual leaders by one or other nations in this group, as we are a scientific organization and our only concern is to take man to a space safe as a one race and family. We, which is the Keshe Foundation, and all nations in this organization collectively work as one team to change the course of space travel and humanity. I wonder how much of it will be understood by those who this is written. Our problem from now on, with the opening of these portal holes with these conditions, is not anymore the human race, but the leaders we have chosen, that if they are ready to relinquish the powers as the head of a state to serve the humanity, or to be in charge of arms, to be told the presidents and the kings. This leads us to one point. Would the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers, who truly are the knowledge seekers, become the ambassadors for the leaders and the nations to show them how it should be? Now, it goes back. How many of us would like to make a spaceship? The understanding of building a portal hole and a cup of orange is not much different. It only depends on the intelligence of the man and his prejudices. Prejudices in knowledge, in color, in race, in position. If it matters to us, that guy is Chinese and I don't like it, and he's black because I'm white, I don't like it. My God, lock yourself in your room and don't move out, because once these space doors opens up, you will see every color in the universe walking the streets of this planet. Or to become the nation of Iran, our doors is open to the guest. Does not matter who it is. This is what sits for us. And we've seen, very interestingly, from Austrian Research Center, they put a ball and a few gases, bottles, and they sell you the energy system. Now, if we advance the technology, same principle, what creatures of God would we see in them? We were happy with a taste of orange and a pear. Are we happy with the creatures of different color we've never seen and different shapes? If we cannot have peace on this planet due to the color and the shape of our skin, how are we going to accept this one? I wonder if President Trump will put sanctions on the people from Mars, and we can build a wall around it. Martians are not allowed. Or are we going to build a wall into the other universe that nobody can cross because they're Mexicans? When you understand this technology, you understand how foolish some of our world leaders are and what they speak about. Be it religion, or war, color of skin, or race. That a lot of things has to change. One of my biggest fear has been always, if we release the spaceship technology the way we've done, then thankfully not many of the nations except the few which we helped could break into part of it. Can you imagine what weapons man would have made to be superior? To be called the most powerful man of the most powerful nation in one country, one piece of land, which was nothing in the dimension of the universe. Or have we been lucky not getting there so fast? This chart, what we see, this graph, in so many ways, is the representative of totality of the life in the universe, if you understand. In your cooking, you mix a little bit of sugar and a bit of vinegar, and you get maybe with a bit of thing, sweet and sour. If you add a little bit of sugar and a little bit of something else, you get something else. Now, change the fields in these cups, and you see what you get. And now you're gonna dare to eat it. You've seen what the little virus has done to all the pigs. Would you like to be the next pig? Any questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Keshe. I'd like to ask a question from Freed in the live stream. He says, when I can control everything by fields, can you hear me? Sorry.
They'll come to you, mankind will soon understand this sentence, very, very soon. With the color of the soul of the man will show the true man and the true color of the man. Where the soul which shines red is a sign of love, and the soul which is darker, he absorbs the son of the evil doings, absorption and taking. Or do we all work to stay all red as much as we can and all the time? So we come to see the true interaction of the fields, the strength of the field of the soul of the man with his environment, without the masquerade of the physicality of the brain and the body of the man that we see as an aura of the body of the man. Then would we see the true intention of the soul. If he makes his color the color of my soul, is it matching up to eat me, or is it matching up to mate me? Am I educated enough to read the right sign? Am I the next food, or am I the next Casanova? This is what life will rely on. We all will exist through. It's not anymore the color of the skin of what you see. It's the shade of the colors of the plasma of the soul of the man or any entity. And what that color means to you. That interaction of the fields creates. The interaction of the fields create the color of the copper. You know that's copper, and it's something good you can do with it. And the interaction of the same fields makes you something else, which is could be exactly the same color, but the strength of the field absorbs is different. The understanding of the color of the soul in these dimensions of portholes will be a big problem for mankind. Or do we collectively agree we don't build any till we all mature, and then in the space of time we forget about how it was done, and we become another bunch of people who made the pyramid for a specific purpose, and then we all forgot about it. Now it's just a physicality sitting in the middle of nowhere. This is part of understanding of the new technology. This is part of understanding how everything we've done up to now in past 5 years was and is targeting towards that direction. We still have to pay the bills, we still have to survive, we still have to eat, but are we all becoming vegetarian and eating bigger things, or we tap into the universal energy which is not needed and we can survive for thousands of years? Because we have not much to dispose of, and we are not taking much from the others which they don't need to be disposed downward on us. Game changed in 2019, and I don't think many of you were expecting it, and you're not even, what I say, will be expecting to what to come in the next few weeks. As I said, we are here to change the course of humanity, but not the repeat of the past.
Hello, Mr. Keshe.
I said,
Hello, Mr. Keshe. This is
very
John.
recently, I wonder, on a trip back from conference in China, I'm sure some of the world leaders will attend. Would they stop in Tehran or a Persian suite and land in Washington, or what might be? With this conference, we have closed all the border business, if you understand how it's been selected. We become consultants and advisors, but none of us become nation owners. Any questions?
Hello, Mr. Keshe, can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Keshe, can you hear me? I think he has a problem with the headphone. Let's see if we can contact him otherwise. Can you hear me yet, Mr. Keshe?
It's up on the wise man.
Rick, you can try typing on a screen share.
It's a good idea. Thank you, Shandor. Yeah. Let me see. Second here. I'll deliver the message.
Yeah, nobody hands up.
Can you hear me, Mr. Keshe? Hello. Let's see if I can make the message bigger here.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, but you're not hearing us. Hello?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Ah, okay, good. Thank you. Yeah, we were trying to get a hold of you there, but you couldn't
But
hear
you
us.
could hear me.
Yep, we could hear you.
No wonder it sounds like a space peaceful.
It'll be so peaceful when we're not bothering you anymore.
I read here it says your headphone is off, but my headphone is not off. No, I couldn't understand.
Oh, okay.
I shut myself off the world, of the universe.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to explain it because I didn't know quite what was going on. We had
No, I just put a mute on my speaker. So
okay, yeah. First, we had a question that I had asked for Freed in the live stream, which is right. I think you answered it actually anyway, so you didn't need to hear it. But I'll just review the question. When I can control everything by fields, such as food, mood, and fuel, then my ethics has to be of the highest level. Is that guaranteed? In what way? So you were talking, Mr. Keshe, about how we have to learn how to deal with these entities and various higher energy levels and such forth. What about the ethics? What guarantees that that the ethics will be of the highest level? Now, you did mention that an entity would be able to see the color or the vibes, basically, of the other individual. So that would be one way of telling you. You just instantly know that there would be something that was off or that you weren't connecting with, so you wouldn't connect with that entity, let's say.
what is interesting? What is interesting for all of us is we set up our own standards. Nothing is written by the book or in the book. It goes back very much to what the first time we thought man will understand it the easy way, the very simple, and was put in the frame of what became prophets and religions. If you go back in the history of the Zoroastrians, it goes back to a very simple rule. It says Goftarani Kerdarani means speak good, act good, and think good. Pak means neat, complete, clean, without any tint. Not to be tinted with no colors and no animosity. I think the teaching of the man was very pure with the first messengers, where they were taught and they put the message up. And Zoroastrians completed how it became and evolved by different, what we call more elaborate. It's the same message of what is today. When you think good, you do good, and you, in essence, live a correct life, what you need. I do that through the operation of the Keshe Foundation. Because a lot of people see it's doing this and that, but at the end of it is done the way it is. Doesn't suit so many people. changes a lot of things for a lot of people. But it is what it is. I cannot change it. This is something which we have to understand ourselves. And um, there is no judge and jury. And at the end of it, he has to go through the same thing. How do we think, do, and assess what we do? So there is no, unfortunately, no judges and no courts. So how do you judge yourself? Are we writing a book of a soul and dictating how souls should do?
What about what we call the conscience, or the so-called guilty conscience, for example, but not guilt as such, but our conscience in the sense of that we know the difference between right and wrong, or correct and incorrect action, and so on. Do all beings have that, first of all?
Let's do a different thing. Let's do a different thing. What do you call a conscious?
Well, I'm just making a distinction between conscience and consciousness, which is a different term altogether. But conscience is like that, that feeling, or what keeps us in check in a way. It's a balance to chaos. It keeps it's the, you know, we know that it's not correct to hurt others, basically, and that if we were to hurt others, then it would be on our conscience. We would might, you know, feel.
Isn't the conscious is what our soul knows is right, and our physicality does it the wrong way, or we bring our physicality untamed to do what the soul says, and we call it the conscious. We bring the two in line with each other. That if I'm conscious that I cannot steal somebody else's, and my soul lives by it, so I'm bringing the physicality to be aligned with the behavior of the soul. So how do we define consciousness? Is the behavior of physicality in line with the soul? Or awareness of the behavior of physicality in line with the behavior of the soul? Because all the souls have the same rule. You see, it's very interesting when you look at, if you put the circle magnets together and they all have to be in a position of bouncing off each other, you can never attract any of them to you, because they always keep the right distance from you. Doesn't matter how strong you are. They come very close, but they never stick. Unless you change your field. I was explaining this to behavior of the physicality. Push with a hand and pull with a foot. One is gravity and one is magnetical. How do we know what we push is of our conscious, and what we pull with our leg is of the same order, that it keeps the distance but still correct? Now we understand about the physicality of the man and the soul of the man, we have even to redefine a lot of our words about our emotion. Conscious. What is being conscious of our behavior? What do we have to compare with? A court says, you don't do this, this, this. There's a book for the soul says this. Or we carry the book of God with us, which is the soul of the Creator, which is within our soul, and we compare our physicality continuously to it. The behavior of the soul of the physicality continues to it. Do we need a book? Or do we carry the book of the soul of the Creator? We just try to fit the physicality into it. And strange enough, no one says, I'm conscious of it. Means I know what I'm doing. All of us, we make decisions and we live by our decisions. But when we made that decision, was it to be right or to wrong, or was it to do in respect to our soul? When you let your child go out of the house hungry, that boy needs feeding by the lunchtime or dinner, and you have not given him any money or any food to take to school, what do you think that child is going to do? To beg from a friend, to borrow from a friend, or to steal the food to keep the hunger at bay. And if he steals, who's responsible? You or the child? Then what are you conscious of? You spend or you did something which is not there, and that's a consequence. You see this behavior a lot in 40 years to 60 years, 70 years old marriages. Because one doesn't understand the other, or one is busy with something else, doesn't understand the other partner. One become too selfish, too self-centered, too busy to what they want to get. What you don't get becomes the child, plays outside, steals, and then robs. Robs from the soul of the partner, which already robbed by not giving. It's the same with the soul of the man. We are fully aware, but how much do we adjust to feed the soul of the physicality through the soul of the man, that the soul of physicality does not allow the term of the physicality to do wrong? Then who writes a book? Because you have a point of reference, which is the soul of the man.
Mr. Keshe, John from Arizona was trying to speak to you in that intermission when you couldn't hear. Perhaps he could speak again. And we also have Arno with his hand up for some time here.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. This is John.
Yes, Mr. John.
So these portals, I'm assuming they'll have some type of door so that entities can't just show up and
I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to answer you in a very direct way, but you understand it straight away. When you eat the banana and it goes in your stomach, does the stomach open the door for banana to jump into the length? Or does he find it matches strength to transfer his energy across to manifest itself as the energy of the banana which is there? Why do you expect the door?
Okay, I understand.
Understand?
And let me ask one more question.
Let me add to it because it's very important what you raised, John. Very, very important. When you have a passenger of universe in these portals or another whatever, and you want to invite him to your house, to your soul, to your heart, what do you do? Do you grab him? Or you become humble enough that by him getting energy to you, you transfer him across to you? And in humbleness, you find partnership and friendship, not in arrogance. Then you understand how man has to become in the dimension of his soul and his physicality to even be able to encourage, even to make the first move of moving anything out of these portholes into the table of the guest of the man on his home. Then you understand how can you not understand how to interact. You said you want to open a door. The door of interacting and inviting is the humbleness of the soul of the man. To be a giver, but not to take. But not be at the point of what happened to the South Americans when they saw the first blue-eyed blonde guy and he thought this creator and they came and they took everything, they stripped you. In do we need a portal? I think if you go to most of the teachings from the beginning, a lot applies to what we have done, but in a two dimensions. You were sitting in the theoretical classes. Now we are hitting the practicality. One of the knowledge seekers and many knowledge seekers now have start reading the book 1, 2, and 3, and they say now they understand. The first time was something they read, but now reading it second time, third time, most of the teaching done they've been across, now they see the true knowledge which has been shared. So if no energy crosses the lung of the man for a matter state of the man, or the energy of the state of the matter to cross the walls of the lung to the blood of the man or to the lymph of the man. So now that entity in the lung is the passenger from outside who wants to go inside. Do you open the door in the lung, or open the door in the intestine, or you create a lower field that by your giving to the others you're always lower humble that you can receive? Then it comes to the point, is the cancer the point of arrogance of the man, that he wants to take everything and not to give? And it is the job of the physicians to understand this. Goes back into what we explained a couple of weeks ago. You want to charge a battery, you drain it, you find a porthole in it that it can take most of the energy out, and it has a place to actually see. All the teachings are connected to each other, and when you see it, you understand it. Otherwise, when we make these portholes, we go to IKEA and we buy a few doors and a few windows to build the frame around it. When we build these portholes, they won't be made in the shape of walls and containment. These are made in the field of the plasma. So you don't have walls. We create the fields. This is part of what you've done, John, but I think you haven't understood it fully what you're doing. or you can adopt it. If you go back, I could have told you these portholes a long time ago. In your test data, very beginning, if you remember, I still sometimes see it. You put number of MAGRAV units, which are actually plasma units, and everybody's looking for a generator. And you remember, I think even Armand was there. You walked in the middle and you felt different. Was there a gate here? Or you entered a new zone? Why do you feel better when you're in the center? Are you receiving more or are you giving more? That it gives you satisfaction. You have already in Arizona have been doing this part of the work a long time ago. But you never understood, you were too eager for others and other things. There are videos, if you go back on your videos. I said, my God, they've created it, but they don't see it. Is this the place of the soul of the man to be able to transmute? And is this the dimension of the physicality of the man, the way you set your system? You don't know how many times I sit and I watch presentations and I said, God, they're not ready to listen. But the problem you have with your macro systems is its construction. You have limitation of copper. Where if you had the dynamic walls without the motors, the way the Austria was building it, now you can understand the work of the universe becomes very clear, isn't it? This is why last week I said Austria and Arizona have to start talking to each other to understand where to go. So you wanted a spaceship, you tried to transfer the soul, you have tried, you understand now. You've done a lot of work that it has to come together. And now added to a new understanding, because now these fields interact, each one is a spherical, dynamic. No wonder what you made a few weeks ago, that you transferred your soul ball there. What happens when you put a soul ball here? When you create the condition in this environment that allows a body with 20 arms and jellyfish-like. You were limited to the dynamic systems with the material you put in. But if you go to the field system and repeat the same thing, with understanding you need totality of the dimensions in both ways, then universe is your oyster.
Okay. One other question is, when you go through the portal, is that like a new dimension of Earth, a higher dimension of the Earth plane? And can you simply walk through the portal and have your soul elevated? Is it that simple?
Simpler than that. You're still looking for physicality of walking.
Just by being in the vicinity of the portal?
If you created a right lymph inside it and you have the banana outside, it'll pull you in and you feed it.
And on the other side of the portal, is it still Earth? A new Earth? A different Earth?
Yes, in dimensions you will be. Because you created that dimension according to gravitational magnetic field of this planet, minus or plus. The game of space technology becomes fantastic from now on. Any other question?
Perhaps we can hear from Arno now. Let me allow you to talk there, Arno.
Can I ask something?
Hello.
Do we see just before we go, sorry about that. Do we see Armin in the background? Is he awake? Or has he gone to sleep?
Don't see Armin in here right
He
now.
was here earlier on. Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, he left. Yes, it's late time for him. I think he didn't like working for a spaceship and now finding he can have a spaceship but he can go faster.
Maybe he's flying in his soul right now.
I don't know. We got to see. I think in due course, in due time, number of members of the Keshe Foundation will start defining their understanding of these portals and their operation. And one thing we should not become to sue them as gurus and God image and whatever. They're just tested in their own strength, and that's all it is. We don't need those people who become showing some glues and then became glues. And this is the level we have to understand and live with and work within.
Mr. Keshe, would these portals that you speak of, would they be obtained more easily in the what we call the sleeping state or in the dream state, let's say, by humans, or is it it can be done at any time, any place to set up a portal?
I'm going to ask you a question different way. When you're in a space far away from this planet, do you have a sleep state, daytime, nighttime? Or would you have the same physicality that needs time to recharge, or you recharge your physicality all the time, that 24 hours is not enough, as we say? You know, in olden days they had no holidays, there was no Christmas and no New Year, people worked every day, 365 days and everything else. When you told them, are you taking the day off? He says, what for? It's no different than the day before. And they do it for decades and decades. It becomes a cycle for us. Do we go to sleep, or would we live continuously through the strength of our soul, which has interaction with the physicality of the moment of manifestation? Or do you always want to have the physical body of the man when you travel in the space and you have to serve all the muscles, tissues, everything else, where you can change it, step down to something which has got less muscles, everything, till you get to the point of destination. You might need half of the energy and you don't need to steal so much on the way till you get there. Is there a point to go to sleep, to go into the dimension of the soul of the man, or man has to live always within the soul of himself? The dilemma is getting bigger, isn't it? We have to find the answers within our own. There are no judges, no juries, no prophets, and no consciousness. It has to be one sense. As I said, when I put my head down, I sleep because I know I have nothing to do with the dimension of physicality. And the physical part has to do with repair that when I need it, when I get up, it's there for it to do the job. And it does it so fast nowadays that I don't even need to have it. Just a few minutes and that's it. Get up and go. But does the soul of the man feel tired, exhausted, he can't have, I'm going to take a rest. And therefore that is just look at the sun. Have you seen the sun taking a rest?
Good point. I see Snap Chen has his microphone open a couple times here. He must have something he wants to say, I guess. Snap, are you there? Oh, it went back off again. So
he's one of the gorgeous souls you come across. I have had the pleasure of being with the Snap for a few months, and he is the most amazing soul. And you don't need to touch the physicality. Anybody comes across Snap, they tell you he's one of the most purest souls we've seen, and he's very reflective of his physicality towards his soul.
well, it'd be nice to get a few words from him if he wants to actually speak with the microphone
He will
open.
cry half of the time, he won't speak.
Well, especially after what you just said about him, he probably is hiding.
This man is amazing.
Well, perhaps we can hear from Arno now then, since Snap is a bit shy.
Hello, good day, thank you. Mr. Keshe, you remember that I remember you told once it is a matter state question, but it is relying on the first part of the teaching.
Can you repeat?
It is a matter state question, but it is relying on the first part of the teaching today. You remember the reactor that you created with the nano layer and put one GANs in the middle? Can you maybe ask the person who made it? You have the GANs layers, but I think in between the GANs layers there will be a transition layer of the entity of the GANs on the top, like in the turtle. It's going around and then it goes to the part where it's needed. And then it's, so I think when the energy is going into the GANs, that matter state is created in the GANs layer, in the nano layer you can use in the reactor. A couple months ago you're talking about that. Maybe you can ask that they look, then it helps us to create the knowledge to extract matter of the universe. Because when we understand it, we can do it with our soul too. I see it with the amino acids in the slots. I created that it was flourishing in the winter only with my love and with light. The amino acids, oh yeah, and I was thinking about the vibration the leaves had from the trees in the summer. And then the amino acid was there, and there was also the small plants again in the winter. And so if we understand how it's constructed, we can do many things with our souls to repair. I think that happens in your experiment. The entity of the GAN is also in the layer in the GAN. That is like if we create the intention of aluminium, or we create the intention of whatever you want, it doesn't matter. And if we understand how it's breathing in each other, because if first is that element, then it's going to breathe out again, like the Earth also breathing out in the other planets with the positioning, what you did in the beginning with the reactors in Italy. And then they exchange and exchange and exchange, and then the density changes, and then you get different matters. I think that happens
we have seen this in the test in China. with the space reactors, transfer of energy and matter, whatever we put in as a gas to outside. But I'll give you a very interesting seed for thoughts. If now that we understand the position of the portals, if we understand how we can invite and be invited, and how, unfortunately, this guy from this, wherever it came, we invite him on the table, has no stomach, and the fish and chips is no good to him. How do I get the energy which he needs that he can sustain his living? I invited him, he can tap into any energy he likes, but I would like to give him a taste of my energy, what I create. If you're Middle Eastern, would you make him some kebab? And if you're Iranian, you give him khamra sabzi. And if you're Irish, you give him some Guinness. But it's got no digestion system that can absorb it. How do we feed it? Or do we get from the soul of ourselves to the soul that he can take whatever he likes? Then it brings a very ethical question. Very ethical question. And man will answer this in a very, very short time. I know the answer because we've been through it, we've seen it. When a mother gives birth to the child, and you're in the depth of the space, and the mother has to nourish the child through breastfeeding, would the mother feed the soul of the child to grow? Or would he change the dimension of the soul to physicality of the milk that the child can drink from? Which way do you think the man will feed his child in the depth of space when there is no cows and no milks and no physical matter to feed up? Then you understand how you behave in respect to the guest and how you'll be guested when you arrive. And then you understand, do we need to kill to feed? This is not an ethical question. This is going to face every man in the space when you go out with your wife and your girlfriend and you decide to have a creation of your own to confirm you're powerful and you exist and you're God, you can create. How do you feed that child? This will be upon man in a very, very short time. The space comes with a lot of dilemmas unless you decide to travel what I call the American way. Wear a suit, take your food, backpack, and as long as it's a tablet and a pack you can put in the microwave, you're welcome. How do we feed our own offsprings, our own children in the depth of space? Then comes to, would the father feed the same as the mother? Do we need the breast of the mother to feed the child? And both can serve through the soul to feed the soul. Then does sexuality exist? Or is there a truth in what is written in Torah, that Adam made Eve from a rib of his own body? Was it passed on through the travels of the universe that one can create one and the Eve to be a partner was the creation of the soul of the man to confirm and be able to transfer energies that he can confirm his own existence? A lot of riddles are getting answered with these questions and with this point, in understanding more of the true knowledge of the universe.
Yes, I have a question about the rib from Adam. I think if you did you ever weigh the rib I think it's ratio like the electron and the photon. If I take my rib out and I weigh it, that is maybe 1,800 or 2,400. It was changed last time. I don't know exactly anymore. But maybe we have to weigh the rib to see if that's the same ratio. Because I see Adam as the electron and the proton. The neutron is his rib.
When I see Adam, I'll ask him.
Sorry?
I said when I see Adam, I ask him.
Please.
But this is...
You can ask, I know, but I never reached to Adam, but I reached others. You can exchange knowledge, I know.
You see, what we need at any level, as I said, even in the creation of the 6 members of the Earth Council and the new, what we call space groups, is we need the totality to confirm the existence of the singularity. And within that singularity, we still need integrity and collective awareness of the full dimensions of the fields of universe, that we can create that lower or weaker or a more humble position, that by existence of that we can feel it, that it can confirm our existence. As I said, the reason for the planetary system is for confirmation of the existence of the sun. Otherwise it cannot exist. If the field and the size of the field of a solar system is at the point where it can create the smallest entity in the farthest point, that from the more stronger one in the middle and the smallest in the far end, the weakest, can create a dimension of the motion of the field to confirm its existence in that dimension. Nothing else. It's very much the size of the body of the man. Slim man, fat body, very big. It's the size and what that environment allows that size to be. It's nearly 3 hours. As you're welcome. As you understand now, a lot of things in 2019 comes back to us, and how we want to be in respect. We still build the factories, we still do the research, we still do everything else, but more or less all the development of the mankind in past millions of years to where it is now, and from now on, as we are born to destined to die, mankind was created destined to unify with the universal community for a new path. And that time is now. And so how we decide to interact with it is totally us. We can go with shouting and screaming, or we can go with the happy joy time. But is the shout and scream out of joy or out of the fear? Any other question?
There was one question about in the live stream from Plasma. In the constitution of the blue planet Earth, we can read about freedom from the monetary system. We now have 2019. When will it happen?
You decide, isn't it? Can you have an apple without paying for it? Have you found somebody on the street that you accept a kiss for an apple? Or can you buy a shirt to be on your back in the cold of the winter, and you can say thank you very much and walk out of the shop? Or the other way is, would you work all day and bake a bread and put it outside and do that every day in and out, and the flour will come from the roof and the heating comes from the wall, and you can feed the whole humanity? What do you expect of the monotheism if you yourself expect something to be given to you for what you've done? And this is what we have created, but would we need to go in that dimension of physicality that we need monetary system? A lot of you don't need, if you understand the work of the foundation, the work of the teachings. But then, if you can take the fields of the universe to feed yourself, and at a certain distance create the fields that no cold and no warmth comes, you stay warm, and make it a little bit tinted that nobody can see you're a man and a woman, that's the only part we care about. Then you want water, you can create, you want food, it's all coming because you absorb the energy. Then are you happy to live that life? If you can use your soul and understanding of the positioning to get to London from New York in 5 seconds, why do you pay monthly system of going to airport, paying a taxi, sitting on the plane, paying a pilot, and the fuel to land to get off and the rest of it? What is good for Gander is good for Gander, isn't it? That's what they say in English. What is good for a male dog is good for a female. So, what is, if we want to get rid of monetary system, are you prepared to work free? Are you prepared to just do things and give? I give, I don't want anything, like a barter system in olden days. But does everybody have a chicken the day you want a chicken? Everybody is there to have a egg when you want egg. When you speak about these things, think a little bit deeper about this monetary system. Without a monetary system, show me your house. Show me how you're going to heat it. Show me where you got the money to do it. Did it come to you or you worked for it? And how did you value yourself monetarily to get what you have? Or you learned the whole process of the universe, which is no monetism. You only take with you what is yours, which is your soul, and never know what the interact. You see, one of the things with the intelligence of man and evolution of the science, and not science, but evolution of man to what it is now, one has been greed, but the other one has been to better position yourself in society. So you created something that others need, so they have given more it was just one for you, one new shoe with this shape, but you showed it and the other wanted to have similar what you have, you sold 100. Why did you make 100? Did you get paid for it? Or you did it to be able to get what you have, that you have more from them that I can show what I have. Goes back to the operation of, as I say, Roman buildings, especially Russian building, and wherever the Russians have been, you see the big footprint of theirs. They built these huge buildings, about 1 meter, 2 meters thick walls and everything else, because people are afraid of big things, so it means it carries authority. But what is the position of it? You want to be in a position of authority, that's why you sold so many shoes and built this building to show you managed to help the others as you want to put it. When you ask for one certain reason, when we're going to get rid of it, you tell me, when was the last time you gave anything out of your work free to everybody on the street? Then we see who established the monsters. Is us? As long as it's not us, we can claim it. It's no good. Or is it good when it suits us? In the universe, the monotheism has never existed, doesn't exist, because people take as they like and the way they like. And it's given freely what you want, and it's there for you to take. And so, if it's not there, it goes back to, that's what they say, how did all this business in the world started? Out of the need and the demand, and out of the nature of the man. Nobody put a value on it. You want the food, you want the bread, you pay for it, otherwise you starve. Feeding the man, warming the man, guaranteeing the security of life of a man has made man a slave to this planet. So you tell him when his monotheism is going to finish. When you decide, or when you change the dimension of the solar. I want to get rid of this monotheism and doing and paying, and I wish everybody works under the name of the foundation the way I do, 24 hours a day, just take what I need when I need, and I still be told everything else for it. I must have been a fool, or am I from another planet? I think I'm from another planet.
I was going to say, I hope you answered yes.
When I was poisoned by John in the Sansano, the doctors decided to find out what I've been poisoned by. They took the nails and the hair and was sent to a German special lab. And some funny results came back, and Dr. Elia Costa said, "You're not from this planet. You show materials which doesn't exist here, but we know where they are, which planets carry these things." Those blood tests and body hair tests are still in the hand of the authorities. But maybe I came from a different planet.
Perhaps one last question, Mr. Keshe. I know you're probably tired here and it's getting long. We have Bianca from YouTube is concerned about this idea of conscience and so on. She says, imagine an evil billionaire using this technology or knowledge to enslave humanity. Because the foundation is always in need of support. Let's think in a person who has unlimited capital to make it. How is it possible to secure that anyone with unlimited resources and no soul at all, the devil itself, to extinguish the foundation or simply slave them? And
they
so
tried. The king tried.
Right.
There.
And later on this month, we might find some further results about that, I understand. So.
Put it this way, the only way you can enslave a soul is to give to it as it needs it, and then it decides wants to be with you or not. The more you pull, the more higher strength gravity you pull, the stronger magnetical will interface to. You try to bring two magnets, the stronger trying to pull the weaker. You'll find out at the last point they clinch. They move away from each other. The only time we do is when you overcome. The rich people might slave the wealth of the man, but not the soul of the man. The ones who slave the soul of the man are usually come under different names. But sooner or later it's done the other way. That's why we don't have a religion called Keshe religion and the rest of it. Because it's the free existence.
These people are worried about this idea of a catastrophic failure future with this technology used in, quote, the wrong hands. So is it possible that someone can have wrong hands and handle the plasma technology?
I think that the only one who's got the hands on all of it is the creator, and somehow he hasn't abused it yet. You know, every dictatorship has a cycle and a life. We see it with Saddam Hussein, and we see it with Hitler, and we see it with the present kings and the world leaders and rulers. This is the writing of Baha'u'llah. It says the time will come that no one will take the crown of kingship. It's not that responsibility is becoming so humble to serve everyone, it becomes tiring. I don't have enough to give to serve the correct way, so I can't be there. This is not a worry to have, because if that was the case, there are people with much more understanding, or creatures with much more understanding in the whole of the universe, they would have enslaved mankind millions of years ago. They helped mankind, that they could receive the love of. But that's not a worry. That's not a worry. That's still just understanding maturity of the time. This planet is too big and too small for anybody to be interested in to enslave it, because what? How many? You want the ants to march your way, or the dogs? Because 7 billion is nothing if you know the population of the universe. It's not even the crumb. And nobody is interested in ruling the universe, let alone man's little planet. As somebody said, it's a prime state, that's why they're interested. If you understand the transmutation of the element, the universe is the primest place to be, because all the fields and energies are there. You can build whatever you like. How many castles and how many rooms, and how much can you divide your souls in how many rooms? That's not a worry.
I was thinking earlier when you made the picture of the spaceship behind the other one, that it's already in the vacuum of space as well. If you're creating materials, it's probably the ideal conditions. We have to spend millions of dollars on Earth to create the vacuum of space in order to make the same materials. So it's right there, handy. Just step outside the spaceship and you've got the ideal conditions for whatever you need to create.
When we used to run tests for, where you sit in, where we see the lab in the uranium reactor, in that building we had a vacuum system made by Ukrainian during the communist times. It belongs part of the Russian space agency, that we could create better, cleaner, or less matter state than the space vacuum condition. We could go to sometimes -40, -50. And universe is around about 11, 12. And in that position, with the deeper we could go, I was always waiting for a collapse of the matter states for the reactors, but somehow reactors always kept that position, that they hold, and we could achieve a much faster lift and reductions and all sorts. So we could trigger with one system. When you look at this Iranian plasma reactor, it operates better when there is less of and is more unified in field of. I was watching, reading an article. that the Russian scientists, I think it is, they've achieved new levels of the plasma at 100,000 temperature. And the Iranian scientists really recently announced that they've achieved many times, and they get to 100,000 or 100,000 yes, degrees centigrade or whatever. And I thought, what a stupid thing. It doesn't exist in the universe. Center of the planets are the coolest place to be, not the hottest. The interaction of the fields interacting with the matter state creates reduction in the fields that end up the heat of the magma or the heat of the surface according to the strength of the field of the matter state at that point. So why do we need this? And is there a point for what we think or we've been taught to exist? It's a very, very, very simple question to answer if you understand the work of the operation of the universe.
Well, maybe I could insert one last thing from Krasmir, who on YouTube mentions in that regard. Would that mean he made the question before you brought that up? Would that mean that if we become the weakest, and as our soul has every spectrum, we would be fed by the Creator? If we take the principle you just explained by the sun system, would that mean that if our soul becomes humble enough to be the weakest, and as our soul has the full spectrum, would we
stop? It's not be humble to be the weakest. It's humble to be the more generous to give, that doesn't want to hold to the weakest. It's a very big difference. The more you open the banana, the more you get to the most of it. So humbleness doesn't come in that you become weakest. Humbleness come in that as I give, that to what I don't need, that I need, the others need more of. There's a very big difference between humbleness in a way of giving from the highest of weakest orders, if you look at it, that you receive more stronger, but you receive at the highest strength that you can give the weak. So it's not that you're very weak or you don't have anything, but it comes from giving. And when you give, you don't take from the root, you have to take it jacket off before you can get to the coat, coat out before you get to the jacket, and then before you get to the shirt, and before you get to the whatever underneath. We cannot take it underneath out unless you rip it apart and throw it out. It's the same with the soul. By giving the expensive jacket, fur coat on your back to the man who is cold and freezing with nothing on, that shows the humbleness. Not giving your fur coat away because if you wear it outside they throw pink color or acid on you. It's very interesting you brought this up. I think some of you who are about my age and around my age, you remember in 1980s, 90s, they became anti-fur campaign, and people who had coats, hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of dollars bought or whatever, they throw them away. And everybody said, oh, you know, these rich people are giving their fur coats. They didn't give it away because they were anti, because they were all scared that they throw paint and acids on them in the public places, that you are anti-animals and whatever. So did they give the fur coats out of becoming anti, or out of fear of being hit at and painted at and thrown acid on? I think the second was more. And the strange enough is, if you could get all these fur coats, expensive fur coats, and could wash them, clean them, put them in a hanger, you collect them free, because they were literally on the streets, people, piles and piles of it appearing everywhere. And in Russia, you cannot live without a fur coat. It's impossible, especially those days. Businessmen like me made a lot of money out of the fur coats, which came out of fear, but not generosity.
Mr. Keshe?
Yes.
how would you advise the knowledge seekers how to prepare for the portals and for what is about to come? In what level can we prepare to be ready?
It's not preparing, it's understanding the detachment. We still eat, we still go to restaurants, we still wear clothes, and we still drive a car. We don't throw our food away in the car away. What am I going to do next one? It's the preparation by the soul of the man to understand the dimension of the physicality of the existence, not the physicality of the body of the man. And this is a very, 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 very big, big question mark for the man himself, and not for those who control the man. Part of my detachment from physicality is, if I was attached to it, I would have run in past few months with the problems that creators do anything to do. I did whatever, but it's a cycle, has to go through. It's accepted, that's what is to be, and then you see what source comes out of it. What's the purpose of it? If the foundation was organized, it had to be proper, because I'll do this and that with it. I would have done a lot of other things. I've sold my technologies in billions and kept the face of it that is good. No. It's a process we all have to learn, and this understanding the work of the soul. And this is what is there, and how it's going to be there, and the way it's going to be there. Some of us will suffer, some of us will go through it, some of us learn from it, but at the end of it, what was the purpose? Any other questions? Shall we call it a day?
Well, we're 3 hours and 33 minutes into it here, so.
Okay, let's call it a day. And we'll meet hopefully next week, next time. And we'll see what it brings for us.
Lots of new news every week now, it seems. So we look forward to next week's new revelations. And thank you for the teaching today.
I think we learn a lot more now how we actually are and how we could be. Thank you very much. And as it was reminded me, do not forget the KFSI education arm starts on the 14th. If you want to join as a student to enroll, you don't need to be in every class, but when you have time you can learn from it. And on the other hand, the work of the foundation has to carry on the way it is and the way we see it. And in any shape or form that we can teach and extend the knowledge of the man into a space technology, understanding of the work of the universe, will be part of our work. And hopefully we'll be still here next week on 258 one. When is our anniversary? 260.
260, that would be 2 weeks after 24th, I think.
Yeah. So there will be 5 years we've been teaching. And I think these teachings in the past, next 3, 4, 5 weeks will go extensively the way, and now we are ready to understand it, to elevate and move on. Thank you very much for today.
Very good, Mr. Keshe. I'll just remind people that they can have a look at the Plasma Times in the keshefoundation.org website. It's at the top of the website. It's pretty obvious there. So check that out. And we'll see everybody next week for the 258th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. And I believe Flint will take us out. Bye for now.
Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on Earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. keshefoundation.org/donate.
Plasma products found at keshefoundation.org/store. Soothing, reusable plasma eye and migraine mask. Eliminate eye fatigue and relieve stress in eye area. European certified medical device. Massaging plasma insoles. Bring comfort back to your feet and energize your legs. European CE certified medical device. Antiseptic plasma liquid hand soap. Promotes well-being and relaxation with protective plasma formula. CE certified. One Soul Plasma T-shirt. GAN's formula within the symbols and stripes brings mind, soul, and body into balance. European certified. Pain Relief Pen. Emits a concentrated plasma field at point of pain, efficient up to 3 centimeters below the skin. CE certified. The Magrav's Energizer and Alkalizer raises pH and energizes water through magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Pain Relief Pad, a result of years of research in nanoplasma technology with magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Visit the online store at keshefoundation.org/store or find a distributor near you. Tax and shipping not included.